Donald Trump is an old school thug. He was brought up, admiring the mob clearly, and so he uses mob style tactics. And tariffs are one of his favorite tools with which to do this. And so to stick up for one of his buds, he's now employing that as a weapon. So he has threatened Brazil with a massive 50% tariff, all because he's mad that former President Bolsonaro is facing a trial for his various crimes. And so it's just now become, again, another standard thing for Donald Trump. He has his allies, and he will use the power of the US government to make sure that the judicial systems of other countries are as hands-off with the elites as ours has become. And so this letter was sent out. It looks pretty official. I will remind everyone that letters are not the way that you start tariffs. That's not how our government works at all. But anyway, in it, and we're not gonna read the entire thing, he says, the way that Brazil has treated former President Bolsonaro, a highly respected leader throughout the world during his capital T term, including by the United States, is an international disgrace. This trial should not be taking place. It is a witch hunt that should end immediately. Starting on August 1st, blah, 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 we're gonna have a 50% tariff. Okay, so just in case you thought that this was founded in perhaps serious misgivings about an injustice that's being perpetrated, because there have been countries that have, cracked down on political dissidents or something, and it's been a massive injustice. You could potentially stand up for those sorts of people. Donald Trump dropped witch hunt. So you already know exactly what that means. He just doesn't like it. It's true, it's accurate, crimes were actually committed, but he doesn't want there to be any consequences for it. The same way he uses that term for himself, the same way he's used that in reference to Benjamin Netanyahu recently. And so Donald Trump now believes that tariffs are a thing that he can use to exercise his will anywhere, in the same way that revoking funding allows him to determine what happens in California or in New York City. He is now in charge of the entire world. And so we import $42 billion in goods from Brazil, a wide range of products. They're just out of our top 10 trading partners. And so this is an incredibly consequential tariff. 50% is massive. You never would have seen anything like that. Now it's the most normal thing in the world. 50% tariffs are announced basically every day by administration, but this is huge, and it's being used effectively to manipulate our foreign policy. And by the way, David, remember, he said that he can do all these tariffs because we're in a national emergency. And yet, what does this have to do with that emergency? This isn't an economic thing. This is just him using it as a way to influence the internal politics of another country. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, let's just put aside for a second all the stuff with Jair Bolsonaro and the criminal charges and Donald Trump trying to exert pressure. Even if you look at this purely on economic reasons, you mentioned the $42 billion. Brazil is one of those countries where the United States actually has a trade surplus. That's a good thing. That means, if I get this correctly, that the United States, for everything that we bring in from Brazil actually brings in even more from the United States. So when Donald Trump originally imposed his tariffs, part of what he wanted to do was to try to say, okay, I don't want to have us import so much stuff from all these different countries when they're not taking as much of American goods. So I'm going to put the tariff in so that some of these things can be produced here in the United States. Even by that own rationale, Brazil doesn't fit. It makes no sense to impose a tariff on Brazil given their trade situation with the United States. So it's Looney Tunes. It's bizarre. It makes no sense.
That is a great point, because the way Donald Trump tells it, that's the only thing that matters, is that we have a surplus. It doesn't matter if he cuts our trade 90%, but now with the tiny shred, we have a surplus. Like, the only thing that matters is that we're winning against them. And in this one case, there aren't a lot. Because we're a wealthy country and we import a lot. Again, a factor about trade deficits that he doesn't understand is that the wealth of the people in each country massively affects whether there will be a surplus or a deficit. And in this case, again, it doesn't matter. His supposed concern about the deficits aren't actually changing anything. By the way, the president, Lula da Silva, says they're gonna do reciprocal tariffs. Of course they're going to do that. And I made reference to the Benjamin Netanyahu thing, so we could just bring that up. When he tweeted about this, or sorry, Truth Social, whatever, he did, again, he used the term witch hunt. He said the United States of America is going to save Benjamin Netanyahu, apparently having no faith whatsoever in the judicial system of Israel. Their judges, I guess, are all corrupt. They can't manage their own affairs. He needs to come in to selectively save his allies around the world. This is totally how things are supposed to work. But anyway, I said yesterday, David, and maybe you can give your thoughts. One of the things that makes me feel a little bit less terrible about the tariff stuff of all of the chaos that we have with Trump is that we are now being totally normalized to the reality that the president, anytime they want, can change the tariffs to whatever they want. So at the very least, when he gets his ass kicked out of the White House, whoever replaces him can set them all back to sane numbers, at least in theory. Do you have any other thoughts about the letters and that sort of thing?
Well, there's also sort of rolling deadlines for the tariffs, right? So even though Donald Trump says that he's going to impose this tariff on Brazil and other countries, well, now he says it's not going to start until, I guess, August the 1st. So there's plenty of time for Donald Trump to chicken out, as people say. Trump always chickens out to sort of make the threat, create some negotiations, and be able to say, okay, well, because of my hardball negotiating style, look at all these wonderful letters that I've been able to send to people telling them what their deals are.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So yeah, to your point though, as much of a mess as Donald Trump makes of trade, at least the next president can, with a stroke of a pen, can change it. So
yeah. And I'm gonna give everyone just a dark thought to the future as we go to our first break. So obviously there can't be any investigations of Donald Trump for any of the crimes that he might have committed here in the United States because he is our king, bow down to our king. But let's say hypothetically, there was some other politician that had committed crimes, and Southern District of New York started to look into it, or California, or whatever. Does anyone think that he wouldn't exercise the same sort of pressure on the states? Like, I'm going to pull all federal funding from New York unless you drop this investigation. Like this, it's easy to be like, it's Brazil, it doesn't affect us. But he's doing this here too. And again, none of this is how any of this is supposed to work. And so we don't just have to look ahead to dark hypotheticals. There's plenty of darkness that's right here in the here and now, but it can get even worse. And justice has always been such an unlikely outcome in America when the target is someone who's wealthy and well-connected and powerful. And now it seems like an absolute fever dream with a person like Donald Trump standing as the worldwide avatar of the protections of the elites, them standing above the law, and I don't like to see it.
If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?